I remember we were like pulse holing for hours in Colorado and just like isothermic snow. You just break in every step
Yeah.
and our legs were just scratched. We just started crying. We were moving so slow. We were running out of food and we're like, this is like this, we can't turn this like to a positive thing. But then, we just said, well, we still have each other. On the CDT, almost in every town, we had a local, mostly male, just tell us like, "Oh, you're never gonna make it to the next section," because there was so much snow. And I was like, "We've made it like thousands of miles through the snow. Like, I think we'll be okay." And just
Yeah.
have to tell them like, "No, we made it. Like, it wasn't easy, but we made it." And I think that's where society just like thinks that we're maybe limited, but we can get through a lot of stuff.
Welcome to the Blue Rose Podcast. I'm your host, Becca Blue Rose, a runner, storyteller, and believer in creating a life that feels like your own. Some weeks it's just you and me, and other weeks I'm joined by women who are chasing their own version of a bold, unapologetic life. Together we explore what it really means to take risks and trust your own path. 10 years ago, Caroline moved from Germany to the US for what was supposed to be a 1-year stay. She fell in love with the US and ended up staying. She has now completed the PCT, JMT, and CDT, along with the legendary UTMB race. She's a firm believer that you don't need to wait for the perfect moment. She's a mountain athlete who commits and starts before she's ready. She trusts the process and she trusts that the rest will fall into place. One step at a time, she's proving that the biggest dreams are found just past the starting point. Please welcome Caroline to the show.
I'm Caroline. I'm 33 years old. And I'm originally from Germany. Born and raised. I've been there until I was 23. Yeah, exactly 10 years ago, I came to the US. Just for research initially, fell in love with research, fell in love with the outdoors, and took a different path, my PhD, postdoc, and then I'm now a faculty at the University of Utah and Huntsman Cancer Institute. And when I don't do research, I love through hiking. I love trail running specifically, and just pushing my body to new limits.
I love that. Have you been in Utah the whole time that you've been in the US?
Living, yes. Yeah, I did my postdoc in Boston, but remotely from here. So I was able to, go like every other month to Boston, which was really fun because I studied in Hamburg, and the East Coast really reminds me just of home. So it was really fun to just have like a different community out there as well. Um, and then I feel like through hiking takes so much time, like uh, the PCT and CDD combined. I feel like 1 year I did not really live in Salt Lake, but you know,
Yeah.
plus minus, yes. But yeah, Salt Lake has been home for a long time now.
Yeah. Is it ever hard to I'm assuming your family still lives in Germany, and
Yeah.
does that ever get hard?
It's never easy. I feel like my mom has been used to, or like my mom and dad have, but I think it's harder on my mom, have been used to me being out of the house since I was 18. After high school, I went to volunteer in Chile for a year. So I lived there, and then afterwards, like moved to Hamburg, which is pretty much the furthest. It's like my parents would live on the West Coast, and I went to school on the East Coast, kind of that
Mhm.
scenario within Germany. So that they're very used to it. Not that they love it, but they're used to it. And my mom's really happy that I'm happy, and they come visit. So they're gonna be here actually in May. I think the whole like visa stuff is just the more difficult path, but I just got my green card, so now I'm like relieved for a little bit. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
never easy. But my brother is in Canada, so it's a little closer.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, you guys are all spread out.
a little bit.
So, okay, so you went and I was gonna ask you about, like, the PCT, and I know you did the John Muir Trail, correct?
Hmm.
Well, I was gonna ask you about that, but I feel like we might as well start with Chile and go all the way back to, like, kind of how that curiosity started of kind of moving around and how you kind of started trying new things and yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I've reflected a lot on this in the maybe in the last few months too. And like, especially with going back to the JMT last year, like just kind of how my 20s kind of evolved and where I thought I'm gonna be and then where I ended up. And I think it's really cool to look back and just see which decisions you made in life and then how how that led to other decisions. So like Chile was kind of the first big thing was like, am I gonna take a year off or after high school, or do I just go straight into university? And I made the decision that that was a good opportunity for me to see a different culture, volunteer. I always thought I'm gonna end up in like kind of Doctors Without Borders, and kind of more third world countries. And I love the experience, and it was amazing. Um, I was there being in a as a teacher and as in an elderly home, so kind of both ends, beginning and end of lives, and taught me a lot. I was in a little village, nobody was speaking German or English really, so I was really forced to learn Spanish really well. And yeah, that kind of led to being really fascinated by different cultures and living in um different countries and kind of getting thrown into the cold water and figuring it all out. I think it's never really easy to move into a different country, or even moving within a country is not never easy, finding a new community and friends. But I think it taught me a lot and then led to, well, I still went to med school. I still went to med school in Hamburg and then made the decision to come to the US, which I also didn't think I would do. And then here we are.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like, um, I think with like the through hikes too, and like what I project on life is just I think society always makes it seem like we have to have one certain path. But there's so many different ways you can go through life, and it usually works out.
Yes, it does. That's, like, kind of recently someone on the podcast asked me, like, what the purpose of the podcast was, and I guess this was, like, a few months ago now, and I think at first, like, I don't know if I really had an answer. It was just, like, I just love talking to women that are, like, getting after life and are trying new things, and I think I kind of came to the conclusion that, like, if you don't know another path exists, then you don't know, like, what else you can do, and so just kind of showing people that, like, there's so many different women doing it in so many different ways that, like, you don't have to do X, Y, or Z, like, you get to choose what you want out of life, and I think that that's, like, a really cool mindset to have.
Yeah, I think that's I love that and sending that message out because I think we, especially when we're like really early stage career and like really have this like set goal or what we think should be the goal, and it doesn't have to be that way if you're finding something else you're passionate about. And it also, it's not wrong if like you take one path and it's a dead end and then you just turn around and you go around and take the other path. It's like you will always find a way to make it work. I believe in that,
Mhm.
and had a great workshop the other week of like, challenges along life and like in academia, I feel like we're just getting thrown with challenges and just how to deal with it. It's just like rather taking the challenges as new opportunities and growth than um I'm not saying that you can't be emotional about every challenge. Like sometimes challenges are hard and it's okay to be sad about it. But at some point really turning this challenge into growth and seeing where it goes from there, I think is a good way to go through life.
Yeah, yeah. So, you went to med school. When did the PCT come into the mix?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, great question. So yeah, so I went to med school in Germany, and med school in Germany is 6 years. And so I was about 4 years in. And then I really wanted to do a research project. and take a year off and really dive into the research and not just do school on the side. And then connected with my, well, now like my PhD mom. We in Germany we say PhD mom and dad, who are like your main
Yeah.
mentors. So my PhD mom, and I thought she was still in Germany, and turns out she actually had just moved to Huntsman Cancer Institute, University of Utah, and she said, "You can come here if you want." And I was like, "Well, if I get a scholarship to finance this, I'll make it work." And yeah, might as well go into a different country and take the year off. So then came here, yeah, got a scholarship, came here, and then I decided, or like, got really into the outdoors, just like Salt Lake is. And I've heard about the PCT before and was like, you know what? Like, I'm already in this country and I have a visa. Like, I could ask to see if I can extend my stay and do this in between the 1 year. So I asked my scholarship foundation too, and they said, you're young. I love that they reacted that way. Um, you're young, you should do it. I did a fundraiser for cancer research as well as part of that. And yeah, headed out on a PCT exactly pretty much, yeah, about a month from now, exactly 10 years ago. And had not much backpacking experience at all. And it's just like one of those, decisions along the way where, I was like, I can do this. And then you have a lot of hurdles, but you learn and then you get better. And it's really cool to look back and be like, wow, I had no clue what I'm doing. And now, if I go on a backpacking trip, I can pack in like 5 minutes because I'm like, it's always the same. The
What
best
was the
part
best part of that experience? Yeah.
of the PCT,
Mhm.
I think meeting the people is awesome. It's so fun. You meet people along the way. The PCT is a little more travel than the Continental Divide. The Continental Divide, I like had one girl, Grouch, I hiked with. Well, like we met at mile 100. She kind of hated me at the beginning, I think, because I was like way more bubbly than she was. She was kind of just like, I just want to be by myself in the woods. And then I think I kind of broke through to her, and then we were we were really excited to then be together because it was a really rough year to hike to Continental Divide when we did it. It was like a kind of like the 22, 23 snow season was in
Mm,
2019, and there was just so much snow, and that really got to us. We had a couple, like we had a good accident there too, along the way. So we bonded. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, CDT is like, you know, the much less travel. PCT, you can be alone if you want to, but if you want to be with people, you can also find people like every day. Um, and the change of scenery is so beautiful, just going from the desert, and then after 700 miles you made it through and you see the, like, it is kind of, I've only read the book once afterwards, the Wild, and it is like she describes it like the first time you come the crest over and you see the snowy mountains, you're like, wow, I made it through the desert and getting into the Sierras, and then like later on, like just lush and green Washington. Um, my favorite section overall was the Goat Rocks Wilderness up in Washington State. So pretty seeing Adams, Helens, Rainier all together. Uh, and I had some good weather days up there, which was I was lucky. But yeah, I think the community, and I mean, you see so many great places nobody ever goes to.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've had a few friends do the PCT. I have not yet. It's not yet felt like something I feel like I have to do, but I'm not holding out that like I think one day maybe, but we'll see.
And I
Um
think, I don't blame anyone for not wanting to because
yeah.
it's quite a time commitment. Um, and I think what people sometimes confuses too with through hiking that um, you're out there for 4 months, a lot of people 6 months, it's just like a normal life. Not every day is a good day out there. It's not vacation every day. And I think that's sometimes what people a little bit forget. And it's like it becomes your job eventually to just uh get up, eat, walk again, and then sleep.
Mhm.
And um and yeah, there are so many things you have to deal with. Usually you have highlights like on a vacation, every other day, like you see something beautiful. But then there are also days that just drag on for a long time. So I don't blame anyone for wanting to do shorter ones. And like the JMT is perfect for that, or the Colorado Trail a little longer, but also beautiful. I think there's so many other, or a section hiking too, right? It's also a good
Yeah.
option.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's such a good point about like how you find joy in those moments when you're out there and yeah, it sometimes it's not fun and you're like this kind of sucks. Like what keeps you like I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep doing this cuz it's like you don't have to. Like no one is forcing you to do it. And so I mean that's something I always just love to hear is like what keeps different people going and energized to kind of complete the goal.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think um sometimes you really just want to quit. And the only the only thing, and I think it reflects, I transfer that a lot to races now, like the ultras. Um you just have to make it through. I think
Mhm.
that's not really a good response, but it's like you just gotta keep going. And I think the one rule is just never quit when you want to quit, because there will be better times. So just really, it just sometimes is really hard to make it through those times. But um, small things, I try to think of my next resupply, and I'm like, oh, I can have ice cream and like a hot meal, because I was always going cold soaking, so I never had hot food at any of the through hikes. I always just use cold water. So things like that just keep me like in my mind like excited. My hardest days usually were like the first week, before I then get into that mindset of just walking and not really thinking too much. Um, and it's just like you just zone out and you walk, and then you walked for like 6 hours, and then all of a sudden you already made like, 20 miles or so. Um, and then just also thinking about like the beautiful times you had, um, like a day before or so. And sometimes it's okay to just scream too. It's not like there are that many people out there. And with my Colorado trail crew, with my trail family, we had a good tradition to just meet up on a pass. And, they're like pretty grueling sometimes to get up. And we would just have a dance party, and one of us can always pick a song and just keeping it entertaining. I did the same with my Continental Divide with Grouch. Yeah, Katie, that's her trail name. Katie and I, we always, she slept in a trash bag on the AT, and that's how she got her name. um,
Love it.
but yeah, she and I would also just, if we're like, I remember we were like pulse holing for hours in Colorado, and just like isothermic snow, you just break in every step,
Yeah.
and our legs were just scratched. It was so bad. And to be honest, we just started crying, and then it just turned into like just we just laughed about it. It's it just was like so bad that we just made it fun eventually. We're like, this is so miserable. And like we were moving so slow, we were running out of food, and we're like, this is like this, we can't turn this like to a positive thing. But then, we just said, well, we still have each other.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes in those moments it can be so hard, but then I think once you get over that slump, it's just like, but we're out here and we're experiencing this, and this is part of it. And I think that if you expect something to be like the PCT to be easy, right? Like, you just can't expect that. Like, you have to expect that things are gonna get hard at some point. And usually you can figure it out, but it is just a matter of like, yeah, do you want to and do you want to keep going and keep doing it? Because some people probably decide, which there's nothing wrong with it, to be like, this isn't for me. And
Yeah, and I think it's also a lot of times, and that applies to life as well. Like when something happens that's just not necessarily good, or you're like frustrated or so, a lot of times there's not much we can do in that moment. It's just already happened. Or the best path is just to make the best out of it and continue through.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so then you did the PCT, you did the JMT, you've done the what's the the
Colorado Trail
Continental,
CT,
Colorado.
and then the
Okay,
CDT. Yeah, the CDT I did the year after the um the year after the Colorado Trail.
okay. And so then I know that you've also done UTMB,
Yeah,
and so did
so many
you
acronyms.
I know, I was like, I hope I feel like they're well known enough that people listening will hopefully know what they are, but, um, for UTMB, so then after all this through hiking, how did you find trail running and get into that scene?
Yeah, that was after I finished the CDT, I was like, well, I'm like kind of in good shape right now, hiking shape. I would not compare this now to like my running shape, but yeah, I was like a good hiking shape. I was like the cutoff of this like antelope. I signed up for the Antelope 50K,
Mhm.
the fall classic. Yeah, I was like, well, the cutoff, like I can walk this fast right now, like coming off the trail. So I should just sign up for it. I hadn't, and I think there's guys, I think what I was saying about like reflection is like that's kind of how I started PCT, not really knowing what I was doing. And then signing up for this 50K, I had no clue about trail running at all. And my dad actually used to run like in Europe, the marathons, like, Frankfurt, Berlin, it didn't used to be
Yeah.
like as difficult to get in like Rome. And so as a kid, like I would travel with them and like cheer
Mhm.
on. But I was always like, I'm never going to run a marathon. Like, not in my life. Absolutely not. Like, I can hike for that long, but I was like, I'm not going to run for that long. That's not for me. Um, but yeah, signed up for it. I did some running training before, but not really well structured, I would say. And yeah, completed that first 50K. And then I cramped really bad after mile 26 because I was not doing well with nutrition. And then,
Mhm.
yeah, after that, I think the COVID hit. So that was end of 2019, and then COVID hit. And then I think, during the COVID time, I kind of just ran like leisurely and did like the Ruby Crest Trail or like more adventure runs. And then I entered the lottery for Wasatch 100, and I was like, well, what are the chances I get in? And I remember sitting with my friend Andrea Stofko on the ski lift, and after the lottery was done, and she checked it, she's like, "Oh, you got in." I was like, "Oh shit!" So you don't get a refund, and I was a student, so didn't have much money. So it's like, well, I might as well try.
Mhm.
That's how we ended up starting to run 100 milers and learning.
That's amazing. I love that because I just think that there's something so powerful in starting before you're ready, and I'm curious, like, what helps you go into something when you're like, "I don't know if I can do this. I don't even think I can do this. I have no idea what I'm doing," because I think that that stops so many people from at least trying, and I feel like that's a big message I try to get across on this podcast is, like, how can we just try things and see what happens even if we're so not prepared or, like, not we think that we are just, like, the last person that should be doing this.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think I try to, um, yeah, tell that friends as well who are like starting. for me, it's the first thing is, I think, just committing. Maybe don't commit to 100 miler the day before, not talking about that type of committing. I think just like, yeah, entering the lottery. And if you get in, you are committed. There's no, I mean, you can always quit, but there's no way really back. Like, it is very committal because you spend a lot of money on it. And the same with PCT. I just committed to it and pretty much booked everything. I was like, okay, I guess I got to go. And then I think as a researcher, I enjoy doing research. And so I, dive into blog posts and literature and just learn. Go into like for running, like I read a lot of things about 100 milers and like nutrition strategies and so on. So I think that taught me a lot. And then just really surrounding yourself with similar interests, seeking out advice. I think if you are in Salt Lake City, there are so many resources you can use. And I think not being afraid to reach out. Everyone starts somewhere. And it's totally okay to start somewhere and being a newbie to something. And you just have to reach out to the right people. And like 99% of the time, people are more than willing to share some of their wisdom that they learned along the way. And I think that's like really what helped me get to where I'm at now. Like going for the FKT last year, I had also not really any experience with like sleep deprivation and was really, really nervous about it, but also learned from people who've done the 200 milers before and could share some of their experience. Not that it ever works out though. It still helped. It still helped. But I think, yeah, surrounding yourself with community that can help you and just I totally understand to feel like, imposter syndrome, and it's just like going to a group run or so and feeling like you don't belong here because you're like super new. Fact is that all of these people have started at some point. They didn't just like came out of the womb and like were trail runners. Like that's just
Yeah.
not how it works. Some people
Mm-hmm.
are fortunate they have, parents who teach them really, really young, but even then they started at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you mainly trail run, or are there other hobbies that you've picked up since moving to Salt Lake? Since Salt Lake just seems to have endless hobbies for people to participate in.
My God, so many. Yeah. I started skiing when I came, well, not right away, but I started skiing maybe about 4 or 5 years ago now.
Okay.
So I really love that as a kind of reset during winter. This winter was a little rough, right? But generally like a nice reset to mix it up because I do feel like if I do too much running, I could get burned out. So I just try to mix it up. I climb a little bit here and there, but I I like to be a top rope princess, so just follow along.
Yeah.
I think like there's only so many sports you can get really good at. But
Mhm.
I think having some cross trainings is super fun. Yeah, skiing mainly in winter and like January, February, and just taking a break. And it still keeps you in shape. It's not like you lose any fitness
Yeah.
doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you keep the joy for trail running when you kind of come from this, like, through hiking, pace doesn't really matter, I'm here for the adventure kind of vibe, into racing something like UTMB, going for FKTs, like, those are they're not very different, but it's definitely a little bit of a different mindset there to be like, "I'm just here for the adventure," versus, like, "I'm going for time."
Yeah. This is a good question. I don't think I ever thought about this. I think the mindsets that I take the same as like just taking it one aid station, one milestone at a time. So that really helps. And it's trying to go faster, I guess. Um, I don't know if I have a good answer. That's
That's okay.
Yeah, that's like because I think it's just like a transition to just kind of realizing, oh, I think I'm like fairly good at this, like
Mhm.
the 100 milers and just um the mental games. Um that's what my partner says. Like, I love the mental challenges, just like absolute just mind off and just going for it. I think that's why I like ran around the whale and things, like I love those just mental. And I do training sessions like that too, where I just do like one session, like one lap, like, like a mile or two, like 7 times, because it helps with the mind.
Mm.
Um, so it prepares you a bit better for the races. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting question. I don't know. I don't think I can really
That's
come
okay.
up with a smart answer.
That's okay. I'll ask you another question. Well, first I'll say I'm doing my first 100 miler this year, and
Amazing.
Jasmine is coaching me, but
Sweet.
I will definitely have to pick everyone's brains about
Yeah.
100 milers.
Yeah, which
Um,
one are you doing?
I'm doing the DC Peaks 100, so the one,
Awesome.
yeah, in
The
Utah.
local down the road? Sweet. That's
Yeah, because
awesome.
I did the 50 miler 2 years ago,
Mhm.
and they sent us an email that was like, "Well, if you've done the 50, you get, like, 50% off your race entry," and I was like, "Signed, sealed, delivered." Might as well, and I would have done Wasatch actually, because one of my good friends is doing Wasatch this year, but I already was booked for that weekend I was going on a trip, unfortunately, I can't do Wasatch, but I am excited about DC Peaks.
But see, those are the type of, like, obviously you could have said no, but it's kind of this like sign and commitment that you just need
Yeah,
to put your feet into the water and see if you like it,
just
you know?
yeah, just see what happens. I mean, my 50 miler was a tough day, I won't lie, so I'm really hoping that the 100 miler isn't like, I know it'll be hard, and that's okay, but it was more like stomach issues with the 50 miler, which is
Mm,
like that's something that everyone struggles with, but I just hope to God
totally.
it's not nearly as bad as it was,
Yeah.
because that was a tough day.
Mhm.
But, um oh, what was I gonna ask you? Oh, how do you deal with fear when it comes to do you have fear when it comes to being on trails alone in the dark? I know that I think you did one of your FKTs self-supported, which means that no one can come and aid you at all and they can't run with you. So I imagine you were out alone at night. And so I'm curious if you have fear around that at all or how you kind of manage that.
Yeah, I think maybe as a, I can't speak of men. I'm sure men are afraid too, but I think as a woman generally it's definitely something in the mind. And can be pretty scary. On through hikes, luckily, like usually you go to bed before it's dark, so you don't have to worry about it. But being alone in the woods in general, there's always this like little thing in your mind. Um, I always try to remind myself that the likelihood of something happening with animals is so low. I mean, the statistics out there, you can be unlucky and run into, in like just an animal that just is not right. But I think statistics just show that it's just not very likely. So I always try to remind myself. Um, and that last year helped me because I knew I'm gonna be going through the night for multiple nights alone. Um, and I read actually a blog post that helped me uh, of another woman who also did the FKT before me, and she wrote that she had to remind herself that most 99% of the green eyes are deer. So all of the eyes that I saw, I just told myself like that's a deer. This is a deer. And so I just kept going unless like, something would like come at me. At some point I like my brain, I was hallucinating so hard that I didn't even notice anything I think anymore. Um and so at that stage, it didn't matter. At the beginning, definitely, was like pretty aware. I think the bats are always cool to watch. They like have these red eyes and they like fly up and down and then they just like zigzag back. Um, and yeah, I think like on the through hikes, I had so many encounters with grizzlies and things that you do get more comfortable the more encounters you have. And again, just reminding yourself that it's they're probably not gonna do anything. Like I had one encounter with a moose up in Canada. I was literally a mile away from the Canadian border, and after hiking for 4 months on the CDT, and I was like, dude, we have to figure this out. Like, this is not happening. So I was like, you gotta go out of my way or I'm going out of your way, but I will make it to this border and you have no idea what I've been through. um, and he came like just towards me and would not get out of my way. And so I like, went all the way down into the bushes and around and back up. Um, and we did figure it out, but I had to I had to move. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. I think the thing that scares me actually the most is the people. So the further I'm away from people, the better. So that's why I think that's mainly why I haven't done the AT yet, the Appalachian Trail, because I think the people out there actually kind of scare me. Um,
Oh.
just the East Coast, you hear like about stabbings and stuff like all the time on the AT. Um, at least when I was following it, but it's just so close to towns. So if I'm like out in the woods for and it's 20 or so miles to get to me, I'm usually not too worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's always in my back of your mind, and it's okay to be scared.
Mm-hmm.
Being scared makes you do better decisions, I think, like smarter decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's something that's always just good to hear though and talk about because I think as women that want to recreate and want to be outside, sometimes it's like, okay, I have all these big, lofty, adventurous goals and all of these things, but then you hear, okay, well, don't do them by yourself. But then it's kind of like, well, one, there's certain things that I want to do by myself for that like solo adventure, but then there's other things that it's like, well, I'm not going to wait until someone else decides that they want to do this with me.
Yeah. Or even doing it together. Gosh, Grouch and I on the CDT, almost in every town, we had a local, mostly male, just tell us, like, oh, you're never going to make it through the next section because there was so much snow. And I was like, we've made it like thousands of miles through the snow. Like, I think we'll be okay. And just have to tell them, like, no, we made it. Like, it wasn't easy, but we made it. Um, and I think that's where society just like, thinks that we're maybe limited, but we can get through a lot of stuff. Yeah.
How do you feel like you have been able to build a community of people that, like, I guess, do you have people in your life that are getting after and like going after big goals and adventures and all these things? Like, how have you built that community and found those people?
Yeah, I think Salt Lake is a really phenomenal spot to be for these types of activities and goals, because I think you go somewhere and someone has already done something. I think it like is positive and negative, right? You always feel like, oh gosh, okay, the people are going for that. I should go for this. Like it's always like, oh, I should like match or something. But I think it's important to just take a step back and just really like think about what you want to do and what you're really passionate about and go for that. And whatever you do, people will be stoked, or you will be stoked. You will be happy. I think that's the more important part. And the like I'm part of the Salt Lake City project, SLCP, one of the co-leaders, and I think that's where we have a good community of just not just runners and just like there's actually a smaller part that are runners in that group, but then there are bikers, there are all these different like really good skiers, and I think that just build a good community. Obviously, we have so many run clubs in Salt Lake where
Yes.
you meet people. I feel like nowadays I mainly just run with people I know because
Yeah.
I just have found them
Mhm.
um, and align it that way with my schedule. But yeah, I think also just at races, I feel like you just make so many friends at races. Um, and yeah, I would consider myself an extrovert, so I like to chat to people and uh, connect, and then just go out and yeah. But I also really like to go alone on runs.
Mhm.
It helps with the mind and um yeah, but I think there's a really, really great community out here, and if you need any advice. I think just showing up to a run club, like for 100 miler or so, just showing up to a run club, you'll meet someone who's probably done it and can give advice. Um, yeah, so that's how it went for me. Like I just had a couple friends who've done it, and then I was like, I can try this. So I entered the lottery, and I really enjoyed it, and so learned from their experience as well.
Yeah. What is the Salt Lake City project?
It's a 8 a.m. Sorry, 8 a.m. Wouldn't that be nice? No, 6 a.m. Sorry. Wednesday morning, 6 a.m. at the Capitol at the stairs. We do a mixture of HIIT strength workouts. So it forces me to do my strength workout as a runner, which is nice. So yeah, we mix it up. We're pretty unhinged, kind of goof around a lot, and then we grab coffee afterwards. And yeah, we're there, rise and shine.
Yeah.
Is that the word? Yeah, rain and shine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So every Wednesday, 6 a.m. And yeah, good way to get some strength training in.
Yes, I think that as a runner, that is, like, most of the time people are like, "I just don't like I personally love it, but that is not necessarily the case for a lot of runners, and then definitely in the summer like, in the winter, I feel like I'm really good and I'm really consistent, and then summer comes and I'm like but going and doing Sunrise Up Grandeur sounds way more fun than going to the gym and lifting weights
Yeah,
today,
right. It's like,
so
yeah, I think last year, like, yeah, especially during the high mileage weeks, you're like, "Ugh, I'm just so tired and have to like catch up eating. And how am I supposed to do strength training now?" I think that's where cross training also helps with climbing and so on.
Mhm.
Last year when I was training for the JMT, I think actually it helped me a lot just having the weighted hikes, jogs, because I feel like it actually made my lower back and core much stronger automatically without doing strength training, just because it was kind of a strength training itself. So this was kind of cool to do strength train without having to strength train. Yeah.
Do you have, like, a vest or do you do, like a bag?
I was carrying it's like a 25 liter. It's kind of like built like there are multiple like kind of like an ultralight backpack. I
Okay.
really, really still wanted to have a hip belt. Because I think just after 20 pounds, a hip belt is just really important to have. And I think my shoulders otherwise would have been pretty destroyed after the first day. And you have to carry a bear canister, so that was, adds a lot of weight. Um, and so it was important to me. So I trained with my backpack. I just filled it up with like 15, 20 pounds. I called it my emotional support rope. I was carrying a rope for a lot of times. Um, and yeah, my partner Andy was always like, "Why aren't you carrying something that could actually help you to like, for a rescue or something?" I was like, I could rappel off Grandeur if I wanted to because I have a rope. But,
Oh,
yeah, and then just a lot of water, just filling it up. Um,
that's awesome.
yeah.
How have you found kind of, like, balancing everything with, like, "Okay, I'm training for this, I have a partner, I have friends, I'm building a community, I feel like your job sounds a bit demanding, like, research for the Hudson Institute, and so, yeah, I'm just curious how you kind of balance all of that and make sure that all areas are being fed and fueled.
Yeah, it's not always easy. I think, like, social media and Strava, like, sees the beautiful part of it, and, like, the easy part, but yeah, like, the job is definitely a lot. But then on the other hand, I'm pretty grateful my job is very flexible. If I wanna go for a run middle of the day and I don't have meetings, I can do that. And I usually, I had a really good mentor as a postdoc to tell me to keep my Fridays or one day during the week just free of meetings. So unless I have students asking me for meetings, I don't schedule anything. So if I work too much, like in the evenings and things, I just take half a day, or I really just use that day to actually get work done. So that's like a really good, just carved out time. I think like maybe it's my German genes, but like time management is a big thing. And I think also prioritizing. So for me, I the job is a lot, but I know that I'm more productive when I get my time outside. So I take that time to go outside. So I think having priorities of what's important to you and spending that time with friends. mm, Like, I think I totally overdid it this weekend, but I took my time yesterday and just had a quiet evening. But I
Yeah.
just need like my one evening, where I don't do anything, but there was like so many social things, like Friday through Sunday. Um, yeah, I just enjoy hanging out with friends as well. So just those kind of two priorities. Yeah, maybe ask my partner about it. In summer, it's hard when you have a lot of miles, especially with the 100-milers or 200s. They take up a lot of times, but it's good when you can share
Mhm.
um, some miles together. And I think it's also okay in a relationship to not share every activity. You already spent every day together.
Yeah, that's something I think about a lot because my partner and I are like, we're very different and have very different hobbies and interests. And I think it's lovely because then it's like I get to build this incredible, amazing community with like trail runners and
Mhm.
other people that like to do those types of things. And then I have this space to like be interested in different things when I'm hanging out with him, which I think is great. So,
Yeah, yeah. I
um,
think just having to balance and like understanding that you have to maybe sacrifice a little bit
yeah.
here and there. Um, is important. And it's sometimes easier than other times. Yeah. I think like how to date an ultra runner is like uh whole other
Whole other
topic.
podcast. I feel like I could do a podcast on that, honestly. That sounds like a fun
Yeah,
topic.
yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
yeah, I love that. Something I like to ask everyone at the end of the podcast is if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Mm, Trust the process.
Okay, I love it.
Yeah, just it's okay to be scared when you make a decision that doesn't seem like it might be the right one, but just trust your gut, trust the process. It'll You'll find the right path eventually.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Caroline, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed getting to know you.
Thanks for having me, and yeah, I will see you tonight in
I know.
person.
I'm Thanks for listening to the Blue Rose podcast. If you love this episode, please hit follow, leave a review, or send it to a friend who's building their own bold life. Keep trusting yourself, and I'll see you next week.